for the Housing and Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County. It is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. I am Commissioner Jeff Merkowitz. To my right is Commissioner Robin Solomon, and joining us virtually is Commissioner Jonathan Miller. We also have with us President Chelsea Andrews, Vice President Karen Brown, and other HOC staff. The first item that I'll entertain is the approval of the minutes from our committee meeting of March 25th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. The first item on our agenda was originally going to be a consent item on the single-family addition of a mortgage company to participate in our single-family lending program. We'll have a little bit of discussion, so for some questions for new commissioners, and I will turn this over to President Chelsea Andrews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the HOC team, and the public. This is an item that comes before the Commission on an ongoing basis as we administer our single-family mortgage purchase program. There are various criteria for the admission of new lenders. In this instance, we are requesting support to add SWBC Mortgage Corporation to our lenders list. We have identified the basis for which we are making this recommendation. I will turn it over to our Vice President of Mortgage Finance to give a high-level overview, and we'll open for questions.
Thank you, President Andrews. For the record, my name is Michael Somerville. I'm the Vice President of Mortgage Finance for HOC. Presenting SWBC Mortgage Corporation. They're based out of San Antonio, Texas. They were founded in 1988, and we have done our standard due diligence, ensuring that they meet all of our requirements as specified under the MPP participating lender requirements. They do operate here in the state of Maryland, both virtually here in Montgomery County as well as the surrounding counties with offices. They're approved to do Fannie, Freddie, FHA, as well as VA and Department of Agricultural single-family mortgage loans in 44 states, as well as the District of Columbia. Based on our review, we feel that since they meet all of our requirements as specified under the program guidelines and their proven track record of performing loans, especially in the state of Maryland and with the state of Maryland mortgage purchase program, we're recommending that they be approved to participate in the HOC MPP program. We did receive some questions and wanted to explain how we go about doing our due diligence. We do have minimum requirements, and one of the things is whether they're charging acceptable fees. We monitor their acceptable fees as far as looking for any egregious charges such as miscellaneous things for office supplies, copying, things that are used to boost the closing costs to the borrower. So we monitor those very closely by looking at the HUD-1s that are provided as part of the closing packets. One other question that was received regarding loan performance. Wanted to point out that while these are this program is the MPP program, it's not so much an affordable program, it's truly geared toward first-time home buyers. So these programs have the same underwriting standards as any other mortgage program would, both for agency or FHA or any other government program. The performance we've experienced is not weaker in comparison to any of our quarterly metrics that we measure on both the state and national level. We have confirmed with U.S. Bank that their loans that SWBC produces perform well and that they are eligible for participation in our program. One other question we have, do we review regulatory findings from states in which SWBC does business? We do not monitor those directly. However, we rely on U.S. Bank as our master servicer, which would not allow participation if there was any sort of regulatory concerns. And then one other question is, another question was how companies deal with complaints, and how especially true with first-time home buyers. We don't own the loans. They're owned by investors via the mortgage-backed securities and services and serviced by U.S. Bank. Complaints would be made directly to U.S. Bank. However, HOC, as the FHA, is available and accessible to our customers and borrowers should there be any concerns, and we would address those with SWBC accordingly. And then one other question we received was, are there income and price limits for our program? The maximum allowance sales price under the MPP program is $806,598. And then there are maximum income limits per household size, ranging from a household size of 1 has a maximum income of about $119,500 to a 3+ household size of $199,220. And I will open up to any other questions that the committee may have.
Are there additional questions?
Yeah, Jeff, thanks. Thank you very much for taking those questions and being so responsive. I just was able to get them to you this morning, so really appreciate that. Let me respond to some of the. Let me make a broader point, and I think, Jeff, you might appreciate this in particular. So there's a program, or there used to be a program called the CDFI program, whereby the CDFI fund certified certain organizations to become CDFIs, and there were a set of standards, and if they met those standards, they could get certified. But if you'll allow me, under Jeff's leadership, when he was over at the fund, the recertification process asked an additional sort of broader set of questions to make sure that the entities that were involved, which met the standards that CDFI for certification that CDFI had published, weren't also doing things that were counterproductive to the goal of the CDFI program. And I would point to Countrywide Mortgage, for example, who would probably meet all our standards, but was making so many really bad loans that they helped drive a terrible mortgage crisis, which essentially undercut home. So I just sort of put that on the table as something we may want to think about doing going forward on these sorts of things. On the due diligence, I'll try to educate myself maybe in a separate conversation with what the MPP requirements are. I would say I think it probably behooves us to do a little bit due diligence or at least get a report from U.S. Bank as to what kind of regulatory issues may be arising in other states with these lenders. I mean, there is a website that the State Bank Supervisors runs, an NMLS, I forget what it stands for, which it keeps a database of mortgage companies, non-bank mortgage companies. And I think just probably for our own protection and information, we probably ought to do that. And likewise, on complaints, I understand we're not the owners, but I think we're a face of the program, I think, right? And I think it probably would behoove us to assure ourselves that whoever is servicing these loans is doing a good job and being responsible. I mean, if God forbid we run into another huge problem like we did in 2008, et cetera, and you run into all these servicing problems, I would hate for that to come back to us as effectively the overseers of the program. So I really appreciate your responsiveness, and we can, all that could be for a longer conversation, but I wanted to put it on the table.
No, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank
And I will just add that the CDFI fund and CDFI certification do still exist, so it's not past tense, at least for now. But I do appreciate what you're saying that not simply making sure they meet the standards, but making sure we're weeding out potential bad actors. So, with that, though, is there a motion to accept the staff's recommendation to forward this? It was SWBC Mortgage Corporation as participation lender to the full commission.
Motion approved.
So
Motion
moved.
to approve. Second. All in
Second.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is having to do with the issuance of single-family mortgage revenue bonds. And I will turn it over to President Andrews.
Yes, thank you. This item also relates to our single-family mortgage program. In this instance, we are seeking support to advance our request to issue bonds. We do this on an annual basis to help fund the first-time homebuyer mortgage program. You will see that we've identified how these bonds would be issued, ultimately totaling close to $30 million. And of course, leaning on the partnership that we have with the state as it pertains to private activity volume cap. I will turn it over to our Vice President of Mortgage Finance again, Michael Somerville, for this presentation.
Thank you, President Andrews. As President Andrews indicated, this is our annual request that we do for an issuance of single-family mortgage revenue bonds to support our mortgage purchase program. What we're hoping to do is issue 30 million in total bonds, of which approximately 18 million will be using our volume cap in the form of private activity bonds, with the remaining portion to be issued via taxable bonds. This program does include the replacement refunding of about 1.1 million that was drawn under our LLC for prepayments, and to refund those and to refund and redeem several mortgage revenue bonds and previous bond issuances, all on July 1 of 2025. That's why we're coming to the commission at this time. Can you advance to page 4, please? So what we're requesting is the approval to issuance of the 2025 bonds under the 1979 mortgage revenue bond resolution in the amount not to exceed $30 million. Approval to allocate 18 million of our private activity bond volume cap to complete this transaction. Approval of the cost of the issuance budget, which is approximately $555,000, to be funded through the single-family mortgage revenue bond program, as well as adoption of the series resolutions supporting and authorizing the issuance of this resolution, this bond issuance. Next page, please. So as you can see, the breakdown is the structure that will be issuing the tax exempt totaling $18 million and $12 million in taxable bonds to get up to our $30 million issuance. Next page, please, page 6. So we have gone through all the appropriate activities, including we have TEFRA capacity, which was previously approved, and we'll be using the remaining TEFRA authority to issue these bonds. With this issuance, we'll be able to fund approximately 103 new mortgages loans based on our average mortgage issuance of 290,000. Page 7, please. And here's our cost of issuance budget. It actually is $555,000. That as compared to last year's issuance was approximately 35,000. It came down by about 15,000. So we've seen some economies of scale based on both the size of the issuance as well as some more reasonable costs involved in the issuance of these bonds. Next page, please. And so we will be issuing in order to facilitate this, we'll be using a series of resolutions, both serious resolutions as well as an authorized resolution to support these bonds. And those will be presented to you, are being drawn up and will be part of the presentation to the commission. Next slide, please. And here is our timeline. We're planning on working very diligently in the month of May to facilitate the offering statement and all activities so that we are able to issue the bonds on the week of around May 27th, with the following closing to occur by June 17th of next month, which would then allow us to facilitate paying all the repayment to the PNC LLC by July 1, 2025. Next page, please. And this just gives you some information on the program. To date, we have issued an average mortgage size of about 290,000, with the loan size ranging from 119 up to 662,000. We have seen the average interest rate has ranged from 5 3/4 to approximately 8%, depending on the characteristics of the borrower. And as you can see, the average household income is about $89,000. So one of the key elements of this is using our McCAF program that we received from the state. We have done to date 78 loans with an average McCAF receipt of $24,000. Next slide, please. And as indicated earlier, we're recommending to the committee that we approve the structure and the issuance of these bonds under the 1979 resolution in the amount not to exceed 30 million, allocating up to 18 million of our private activity bond cap, approval of the cost of issuance budget up to $555,000, and adoption of the series resolutions authorizing the issuance of the bonds. There is, as all expenses related to the issuance are paid through the issuance itself, there is no budgetary impact, and the time frame is to present this on the May 7th commission meeting. I'll open up to any questions that that you may have at this time.
Thanks. I'm trying to get some numbers straight because there seem to be, I think there was some inconsistencies. Do we need 16 million or 18 million in volume cap?
There is 16 million cap that will be used. 2 million is recycling of previous bonds.
Okay. So we're not using, I think, what did we say? We had 18 million available, but we're only going to, what?
Yes, you're correct.
But we're only using 16?
Correct.
Okay. So I think there was some inconsistent numbers in the
It will be the 18. I missed, that's a correction. I misspoke, Commissioner. It will be the 18 million in volume cap that will be used.
So, okay. So, well, either way, I mean, I'm looking at the screen right now, and issues for consideration says approval to allocate up to 16 million. But
that is a incorrect element, and my apologies.
So can you explain that? Because in the briefing, and as you said, the recycling doesn't require, does the recycling require new authority?
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Katie Brown, Senior Executive Vice President. The recycling does not require a new cap. The way it works, as prepayments are received between the last bond redemption, they're placed in the trust at the trustee, and we draw from the line of credit to pay off bondholders until the next bond issuance when new proceeds are available. Because by placing the funds, the prepayments at the trustee and not using them to pay off the bondholders, we're preserving the cap. when the new bonds are issued, the proceeds from the new bonds are used to repay the line of credit, and the funds, the prepayments that we received that were sitting at the trustees, those are used to make new mortgages and therefore recycle that volume cap into new mortgages. And the bond proceeds are used to repay the line of credit, and that's how the recycling works. So we're not using new volume cap for those, for the recycling process. For the 18 million,
Can I apologize? Can I just, on that point, Jeff, is that all right?
Sure.
That was a very helpful explanation. Thank you. For some reason, I thought when I read the material that we were using the proceeds to pay off the old bonds. But your point is we're recycling the funds into new mortgages.
correct.
That makes much more sense to me.
Correct.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. So those recycled monies, volume cap, are used to make new mortgages, and the 18 million or so of TEFRA authority or volume cap that we're allocating to the new bond issue, that's new money that, along with the recycled funds and with the taxable amounts, will.
I guess it's,
total of
I'm
30 million.
confused because I'm just trying to get the numbers to add up. So are we issuing 30 or 32 million?
30,
30.
yes,
Okay.
30,
So 2 million is recycled,
yes.
16 million is new,
Eight-
and then 12 million
Up to
is,
18 million is new. 18 million of,
okay, the chart shows
16.
16.
Okay.
So, and then
So it will be.
12 of,
we'll update the chart, but it's really up to 18 million of new issuance.
okay.
We'll update the chart. It really should have.
So then it would only be 10 million for the remaining taxable.
Correct.
Okay.
So we'll be issuing a total of 30 million in bonds with a combination of taxable, tax exempt, and
Right.
and the recycled amount is tax exempt.
Okay.
We'll make sure the numbers put.
Yeah, I just scrubbed the briefing a little bit, I guess, because it was that was where I was getting hung up. And then just on the we obviously have plans to use a lot more volume cap than we have available, and the briefing mentions that we're talking to the state about that. Do we have what are our options if the state doesn't grant us that full amount?
Well, we have been working in partnership with the state year after year. We are typically able to work through some form of agreement. When we looked at our forecast, we do believe that if we have to shift a project to the right in terms of timing, we'll have more availability the following year. So we may have to make those types of adjustments if the state's unable to work with us. But we have received correspondence from the state to confirm that they would be able to provide at least 60 million, 61 million in volume cap. And so as we continue our timeline and our projections, the expectation is we'll check in. They're also making estimates based on other requests from other jurisdictions that often do not get fully utilized, and work with us in partnership as they have additional volume cap available.
Are there additional questions? No? Jonathan?
Just quickly, I'm wondering what kind of rates we're expecting to have to pay.
We're expecting, based on conversations, we're expecting the bond yield to be somewhere between 4.25 and 5.25, depending on the maturity of the bonds. Are you referring to the rates that the borrower would actually pay related to the loan?
No, I meant that you answered my question exactly.
All right.
Thank
If there are no other questions, is there a motion to approve the staff's recommendation and send it to is there a motion to to support the staff's recommendation and send it to the full commission?
Motion to do so.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion is approved. Thank you. The next item on our open agenda is approval of a final development plan for the Sage at West Side Shady Grove. I will turn it over to President Andrews.
Thank you. Commissioners, we're really excited to continue forward with the development of the Sage. As a refresher, this is our new development that will be immediately across from the Laureate, which was a very successful development that we recently opened. The Sage will have 413 residential units and also have partnership with the county, a public library. You will see in the packet that we previously received support from the commission to advance this development back in January, and we're taking the next steps. We have secured a contractor, a GC, that we'd like to advance, as well as outline in terms of the overall concept for this development. I will turn it over to our Vice President of Real Estate, Nihar Shah, for this presentation.
Thank you, President Andrews, and good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I am Nihar Shah, Vice President of Real Estate. Today we're here to discuss the Sage, or what was formerly known as West Side Shady Grove Building B. This matter was taken to the committee, as the President mentioned, in January. We are back here as we have progressed the discussions with CBG, the general contractor, and are close to executing a guaranteed maximum price with them. I will note that this all the information in this document is alluding to a commercial lending with the private commercial lender, but the final financing plan will be will come ahead of you next month in the final financing plan with mortgage finance. With that, what we would like to discuss is to authorize the president and the executive director to execute the GMP with the general contractor at about $106.5 million. Back in January, we had requested a not to exceed of $115 million. That included some Davis-Bacon prevailing wages premiums. And so should we revert back to FHA risk share in the financing plan, we would amend that GMP to the higher number. In addition to that, we'd like to authorize and assign all the assignments and assumptions of all contracts, agreements, and regulatory approvals that EYA currently has over to HOC as the majority owner of the asset, and to authorize HOC to accept, negotiate, and enter into loan documents, equity funding documents, and other documents required to complete the financing of the transaction. Lastly, as the president mentioned, also authorize the president or executive director to execute the lease with Montgomery County for their branch library. So slide 4, please. This continues on with some of the executive summary, but what we are kind of bifurcating the ownership structure to is EYA would be a non-managing member and HOC would be the managing member, and we would have some more opportunity for discussion on this breakout in the closed session. But HOC and EYA would partner, and they have been partners in the pre-development and the entitlement phase of this. But because HOC will be the majority owner, Montgomery County has provided us with a reduced land basis on this property at slightly under than $12,500 per market rate unit, or roughly $3.6 million. This is the exact purchase price for the Laureate, or Building D, that was first constructed in 2021, and it is markedly less than the recent comps that are trading at about $35,000 to $40,000 a unit in land. We can gloss over a little bit about the senior debt, as that will come at a later date in the financing plan. But the newly formed entity with HOC and EYA would be 91% owned by HOC and 9% owned by EYA. And the affiliate would enter into the joint development agreement that we'll discuss in the closed session. So if you go to slide 5, please. The construction contract. So we had selected CBG after your approval in the January commission dates. And we have been going back and forth and negotiating terms with liquidated damages, cost sharing agreements, and then the gorilla in the room with tariffs. And we have come to a GMP of $106.5 million, or roughly $258,000 a unit. And this also includes the cold dark shell for the library, about 7,000 square feet on the ground floor. And in addition to the precast garage that would be serving the residents of this new community. Part of the GMP is a fee for a CBG at about 3.75%, which was negotiated down. And should they meet their schedule and their other incentive options, there is a 50 basis points incentive fee at the end of the job that we are also including for the time being. As it relates to the cost sharing agreement, we wanted to accelerate and incentivize CBG to procure all of the materials as expeditiously as possible. And so what we are offering them is a savings split on the buyout at 60% to ownership and 40% to CBG if they buy out all of the materials within 120 days of the notice to proceed. Should they not do that, the buyout savings would then revert to 85% ownership, 15% to CBG. And so this was one of the ways that we are trying to accelerate and minimize any of the volatility that may occur with the tariffs that are being discussed by the administration. Lastly, we have also included, and not inserted into this document, but we have included about an additional $1.5 million of tariff contingency. This is on top and beyond of our hard cost and soft cost contingency that we normally put into all of our projects.
Say $1.5 million?
$1.5 million. So it's about, so it's about 1% of the total.
So it says, go ahead.
Slide 6, please. The transaction structure is highlighted in this table. As you can see with this structure, and again, this is still will be finalized in the financing plan, but in this structure with the commercial lending opportunity, EYA would participate, contributing $1 million of their equity. They have already contributed about $3.6 million. But they would contribute $1 million at capitalization, construction closing, when we close on the loan. In addition to that, we are in strong discussions with Montgomery County Green Bank for a $5 million loan, which we are including about a 1.2 megawatt solar panel solar array on the roof of the building to provide more sustainable advantages to the property. In addition to this, what I mentioned previously with the construction contract, and then the $1 million in reserves for the tariffs are located in the uses portion of the table now here. If you go to slide 7, please. The library lease, we've been working with the county thoughtfully and intentionally for the past several months, and we're relatively close. We're hoping to execute this by late spring what the terms for the lease include is a base rent calculated on the 10-year amortization of the landlord delivery costs, which includes the cold dark shell that I mentioned. The actual fit out of the library would be taken on by the county itself. And so we would deliver a cold dark shell with the certificate of occupancy, and then the county would take it on moving forward. So it's a little bit different than how we have produced the partnership in the past. The base rent is approximately, if you were to amortize this at 10 years, is about $37 a square foot, which is on par with what you see in the comps right now if we were to go to a third-party retail tenant. Because it is the county, they were not they did not want to provide any guarantees. However, they do have a 10-year term, and they would be opting into unlimited 5-year options at a fair market value. So after the 10-year term, we would have the ability to increase their rents to the fair market value of Deerwood, Maryland. As I previously mentioned, for the tenant build out, the tenant would be responsible, but it will be subject to landlord approval. And the payment of rent is subject to annual appropriations by the county. But what we are requesting from the county is to let us know if there are any issues that may come up with appropriations, so that we can effectively manage our relationships and then see what we can do to keep the branch library from continuing on with its operations. Next slide, please. This is the transaction schedule. So as I previously mentioned, we came in front of the commission in January, and what we would like to do this month is to approve the GMP contract and the amendment to the final development plan. And then we would be hoping to come back to the commission next month for the final financing plan that our staff and mortgage finance would be leading, in hope to close on the construction loan and also provide the notice to proceed by July of 2025. Slide 9, please. So in summary, we'd like committee support to advance this to the commission to authorize the president to execute a GMP with CBG on an amount not to exceed $106.5 million, with the caveat that should we choose to go with FHA risk share, that would be up closer to $115 million. And then also to assign and assume all of the contracts, agreements, and approvals that EYA was managing for HOC over to HOC, and then authorize the future owner to enter into the loan documents that we will provide some more additional information in the final financing plan. And lastly, to authorize the president to execute the library lease with Montgomery County.
Other questions?
Going back to, I don't know, page 6, I don't know what the slide number is, where you have the sources and uses.
Yes.
So we're going to have a 5% contingency on the 119 million, presumably, right?
Yes.
Why wouldn't we show that?
That should be in the
Footnote 1 says includes no contingency, but
that's outside of the GMP. So the footnote 1, so that the actual construction contract does not include contingency, but we keep it outside in the development contingency.
The additional construction related costs, is that where the contingencies.
Well, that was my second question is what's the difference between,
Yes, so number,
Those two
yeah, so
lines.
footnote 2, the 19 million, that 19.4 million includes our hard cost contingency.
on the 19 million or on 125 million?
The 19.4 million.
Right. So there's no contingency on the 106. There will be a contingency on the 106 of 5%.
Outside of the GMP, right, right. So we
I understand.
Yeah,
The contingency is the owner's contingency.
Right.
Typical contingency, right?
Right.
It's for things you're not expecting. So adding 5%, call it $5.5 million, changes the numbers a lot. Does it affect our developer fee? Does it?
So the development fee is inclusive of the uses. So it does not affect the GC fee. And so
I
that's,
agree with that. I'm trying to get a sense. We've got a very summary sources and uses. It seems like a use is missing. We're going to have a 5% contingency on the 106 million, I presume, right? In the overall budget, not in the GC's budget.
correct.
Correct. We put in the 19 million, and separately, I don't know what the 19 million is for, but we have a contingency there. We have a contingency on the design and engineering. We're not showing the 5% that we will have. It'll be the owner's contingency. I get it. It's not in the contract. Call it 5 million, just round numbers. That affects the overall uses of funds, right? Where does it come from?
It's part of the construction related cost. So the $183 million that you see with the total estimated use is inclusive of the 5% hard cost and 5% of the soft costs.
5% of the 106.
Correct. And FF&E. So
Right.
the FF&E would also be outside of the GMP.
I understand the GMP. Where is that 5% hard cost contingency?
It's part of that line item. So we can break this line item out further, but it's part of the additional construction related costs. So the 19.4 million includes the $5 million in hard cost contingency, and then all of the hard costs that are not part of the GMP. So all the FF&E.
So the 5% contingency on 106 is within the 19 million.
That's right.
It read as there was 5% contingency on the 19.
Got it. Sorry.
So
Yeah.
that
So
that
we'll break it out.
That would be great.
Yeah.
On the reserves, it read funny. I'll take your word for whatever your answer is. It says on footnote 5 for reserves, it includes a tariff reserve. Is it just the tariff reserve, or does it include the lease up reserve? And
That's just the tariff reserve.
just the tariff reserve. Okay, well, that's helpful. Well, I'm glad we're not missing the 5% hard cost contingency, because that would be awkward. You referenced there's a incentive for the contractor to finish on time or early.
Mhm.
And if he's late or she's late, is there a penalty?
They will be liquidated damages that we've included. And so that we've split that into dwelling units. So we bifurcated it into amenity spaces and parking garage, and then also the lease up, the delivery of the dwelling units. And so it's about $50 for the first per dwelling units on the first 30 days. And then it accelerates to 75 and 100 as it gets further delayed.
Okay, I understand. Does the deal have property tax exemption on the whole?
Yes.
Is the county absorbing the insurance costs?
No, that's part of the property.
The
So
property
the
paying?
operations of the property will be.
But so the county is putting in between HOC and the county 43 million, potentially 5 million, 48 million, 10 million is 58 million. Plus the value of the insurance.
Which should be operations, correct? Yes. So 48 million is HOC in the county. The Green Bank, I guess they received their
58 million. 43.5 and 10 is 58. Gov County and HOC resources plus the benefit of the property tax exemption, which goes into the first mortgage.
That's right.
The permanent first mortgage. We don't see the permanent yet. So I'm just getting a sense of how the transaction works. So I appreciate that. we've got 4.1 million in the deal so far.
We have four, let me get you the exact number.
Roughly.
Right, it indicates here that we're proposing 10 million in equity. To date, the commission has loaned approximately 4.1 million of the 6.4 million that was already pre-approved from the PNC line of
And
credit.
EYA's got 3.6 in.
That's right.
Well, of course, and all of the many years that they
Yeah.
assembled, right,
I'm not
right.
denigrating their
But in
work.
terms of this specific parcel and this particular development, yes.
I'm not throwing stones at anybody's work. I'm just trying to understand who's putting in what, where, and how much. We've got 4.1 in.
And we'll be having further discussion in regards to our partnership agreement in closed session.
And I appreciate that. I'm staying away from that. I'm just trying to get a sense of who's done what, and who's put in what, since it's sitting here in open session.
Right. It was difficult to figure out how to present this without getting into those types of details. But yes, overall, we're really focusing in this discussion on the contract with the GC, the relationship with the county related to the library, and welcome other questions in closed session.
But since these numbers were here, I just wanted clarity on since they were public. And so I appreciate your clarity of who's putting in what, and that there's liquidated damages, that there is a hard cost contingency. I appreciate that the reserves aren't really plural. It's reserve for tariffs
Reserve.
only, because that was confusing to me. So I just wanted to understand who's doing what and who's put in how much. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate that you're giving a lot of thought to the tariffs.
And
You'll be
what,
back to us
what
with how
we
successful
haven't
they are.
discussed here is beyond just the incentive of the expeditious buyout and more of the cost savings is they have also provided us with a list of materials that for alternative specs. So it's either we purchase them from domestically or we purchase them from countries that may be impacted less than others.
No, I appreciate the thinking ahead, since the whole world is thinking along the same lines. I appreciate the clarity and I respect what we're doing later. But since the issues were presented to us, I thought I'd just get some clarity on who's doing what, where, and if you could give us more detail in the future on some of these items, that would be helpful. Those are my questions. Thank you for your answers, Nihar and Chelsea.
Are there other questions, Jonathan? No.
No,
I guess
from me.
only a comment that on the library, I'm supportive of the library. It feels a little risky right now. I mean, with the lack of assurances from the county, combined with the fact that libraries are sort of under attack right now, and that the administration is trying to gut federal funding for libraries. So those two.
Books are out.
Yeah. So, and places to read books and get books or do other things that you do at libraries. Maybe there'll be more clarity by the time some of this gets moving. But I think it's just something to keep an eye on there with what's going on with funding for libraries.
We are going to monitor this closely. It was a requirement based on the assemblage of these parcels with the county to bring a library to this area. So we're honoring that and working in good faith. They're definitely highly engaged in the negotiations and entering into this contract in good faith. If there are changes that happen in the future, this space is flexible in how it's being produced as a cold dark shell if we need to reconsider other retail options.
If there are no additional questions, is there a motion to support the staff's recommendation and send this to the full commission?
A motion to do so.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is approved. Are there any other items for the public agenda?
No, I don't believe so. Thank
Okay.
you.
If not, pursuant to Section 3-305B and D of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, I move to adopt the written closing statement dated April 29, 2025, and to adjourn this open session to a closed session to discuss two topics. First topic is the potential partnership for a property located in Durwood, Maryland. Second topic is financing of a property located in Bethesda, Maryland. HOC must discuss both topics in closed session to protect private parties' confidential commercial and financial information. Section 3-305B13 allows these topics to be discussed in closed session. If a member of the public that is watching this meeting in real time on YouTube wishes to object to the closed meeting, please comment in the YouTube chat box or contact HOC's General Counsel. Instructions can be found in the Open Meetings Act objection procedures, which is posted on HOC's website. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion is carried, and we are moving into closed session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Live stream is now ended.